Hi guys, welcome to today's session. My name is Neha Deseja. Thanks for joining me on the mat. So today I want to talk to you guys about the foundational postures, the ABCs of the Surya Namaskar A. In my classes I tend to see lots of people doing things that I really don't want them to do, and I sometimes stop the class and kind of check in with everybody, but then other times you don't have the privilege of doing that. So I want to take the time to help you kind of find the strength in your foundational postures, so when you want to do things like arm balances and inversions, that stuff becomes like a natural progression for your practice. Once your planks and your chaturangas and down dogs are solid, everything else just falls into place. So come on to the top of your mat, join me here. Let's talk about Tadasana to start. So Tadasana, mountain pose, there's another name for it, reaching up to the heavens, right? It's a really cool way to think about it. But let's think about the ground first. So standing tall on the feet, I like to stand with my feet hip width distance apart, just because it gives me a little bit more feeling of foundation, a little bit more feeling of balance, and I can feel my hips kind of lining straight above my heels, and that's the kind of feeling that you want. Press down through all four corners of the feet so there's even weight distribution through the inside and the outside of the foot. As you press down through the feet, you want to keep lifting the inner arch of the foot up, and that sort of connects yourself all the way up into the inner thighs here and into your pelvic floor strength. As you're coming up the legs, engage the quads, pull the kneecaps up to make the legs super solid so you're not kind of hyperextending in the legs. Pull those kneecaps up and stand up tall through the legs. Next, move on to the pelvis here. So no anterior tilt, no posterior tilt. Neutralize the pelvis and make sure that you're not sending one hip forward and the other one back. So your hips want to be super straight. So both frontal hip points pointing forward, neutral pelvis, engagement in the belly. I find Tadasana to be a really great place to find engagement through the bandhas too. So you can already feel that engagement, the inner thighs switching on to switch on the pelvic floor, and then slightly pulling in through the lowest ribs to draw the belly in and start to feel your Uddiyana Bandha engage as well. So all that energy coming up from the floor, reaching up through the crown of the head and away from you, hands to your heart center, coming into your mountain, the tallest mountain ever. Take an inhale, reach the arms up, palms touch. Exhaling, fold forward, Uttanasana. So Uttanasana is a great place to work on opening the back of the legs. What you want to do here, instead of keeping your fingertips on the ground and looking forward, is to try and get the palms all the way flat to the floor, and then roll the shoulders back and lift the chest up, breathing into the back of the legs. You can always use props like blocks as well to help yourself out here, but try not to do this. If you're more flexible, reach for the floor, palms planted flat. Halfway up, lift up and lengthen. As you exhale, palms are flat, you're stepping back into plank. So plank becomes a really great place for you to work on your straight arm strength. Right triceps around and under so the elbow creases point forward. Squeeze the legs together, straight line from the crown of the head all the way to the heels. So you don't want to drop your head too far, you don't want to lift your neck up either. It's a straight line through the spine, so you're gazing forward but the head is neutral, the back of the neck is nice and long. Press the heels back, squeeze the glutes, breathe in, breathe out. Okay? We're going to move into chaturanga. Interesting. So you're going to lean further forward and lower yourself down to chaturanga. So if you notice, plank kind of happens with the wrists in line with the shoulders. Chaturanga happens a little bit further forward, creating flexion in the wrists, and you're lowering down to where your elbows are in line with the wrists and the shoulders are moving forward. Yeah, so it's a quite an interesting posture to hold. Actually, not so much interesting, maybe just super hard, right? And it's helping you build your bent arm strength, right? Chaturanga is helping you build your bent arm strength. So chaturanga as well, you want the core to work. So as you're bending the elbows, make sure that you're not just leaning forward and collapsing the chest, right? The chest is in line with the elbows. The chest stays in line with the elbows, and you're constantly pushing the floor away here to stay lifted in the body. Squeeze the glutes, press the heels back, engage the whole body to hold here. So one of the best ways that you can think about working strength and building strength in your bent arm variation of getting strong is to hold chaturangas, maybe for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I see a lot of people come into plank pose and they don't like doing chaturangas. Clearly kind of do this. They'll kind of shift through chaturanga and just come straight into an upward facing dog or cobra pose, right? So you want to make sure that you're leaning forward and going down. If it's not available to you off the knees, bring your knees down. Again, with the knees down, what you don't want to do is roll the shoulders back and drop the hips. Keep the spine in one straight line for as long as possible. Lean forward, lowering down. Okay, it's equally hard. You're doing the work. You're doing the work. So find the correct variation of Ashtangasana with the knees down or Chaturanga with the knees off. The next posture we're going to talk about is Cobra pose. Me personally, I like to come all the way down to the floor and lift up into Cobra pose. What you want to make sure that you're doing with Cobra is pressing down through the tops of both your feet. The feet are not lifting up, the pinkies are pressing down as well. And then if you can, taking the hands off the floor. So we tend to put a lot of pressure into the hands and push up. And we're kind of hanging out. I see a lot of people do this. You want to roll the shoulders away from the ears, keep the chest lifted, right? And if you're not able to kind of hold yourself up without the hands, then maybe come up a little bit. Be honest with yourself. I've had teachers tell me like maybe about 10% of the strength that you're using is coming from the hands. The rest of it is coming from the back. So postures like Cobra and upward facing dog are helping you build the strength in the back line of the body, right? So there's no shame in doing a lesser pose. If you're coming in Cobra pose, lift the chest up. Think about using the strength of your back to keep yourself lifted. The other thing that I see a lot of people do in Cobra and up dog is they send the neck and head back. And once you do that, it tends to go straight into your lower back and you're jamming the energy line and you're jamming your neck back, and that just doesn't feel right either. So when teachers in class are telling you to gaze up, they're talking about your eye gaze, not talking about you moving your head. So as you come into your Cobra pose, I actually like to look down as I'm lifting myself up and then neutralize my neck and my head and then lift my gaze up to the sky. All right, and if you have your Cobra all the way down, then come into this position, press into the tops of the feet and take your thighs off the floor. I encourage you as well, if you're working on building strength, to keep a little bit of a bend in the elbows. The moment you lock your elbows out, you might end up collapsing chest, you might end up collapsing shoulders around the ears, or you might end up putting a lot of pressure into the back. So keeping your elbows bent forces you to actually engage the muscles in the arms as well and helps you build strength in your biceps and triceps. So try that out the next time you're doing your upward facing dog or Cobra pose. And last but not least, let's talk about downward facing dog. So as you come into your down dog, a lot of people have issues with how long should my down dog be. Simple way to understand how long it should be is you should be able to move forward into a plank position, moving your feet. If you have to wiggle your feet back, then keep your feet where they are and send yourself back into your down dog. So push the floor away, lift the hips up, and this is your down dog. Now, if your heels don't touch the floor, don't worry about it. It doesn't make you a bad yogi if your heels don't touch the floor. All right? It just means that you might have some tightness in your hamstrings that you need to work through. So if your hamstrings are super tight and you're forcing yourself to straighten your legs at the expense of rounding your back, think about bending your knees and focus on lengthening your spine. And then as you move through your practice, slowly but surely, your legs will get straighter and straighter. As you come into this as well, think about that external rotation in the arms. And think about pushing the floor away and lifting your hips up nice and high. So you don't want to collapse in the chest or the arms in your down dog as well. So push the floor away with your arms, get really, really active, create space in the upper back with the external rotation, and then breathe as you send your hips up to the sky. Big breath in, big breath out. That covers Tadasana, plank, Chaturanga, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. So let's see if we can add them into a little sequence, and I can show you a couple of variations that you can play with to kind of add more flexibility stuff or add more strength elements to your practice. All right, come on up, let's do this. So hands to your heart center, feet together or feet hip width distance apart, standing tall. You know that you're completely stacked when you can feel this lightness in your body. Take an inhale, reach your arms up, palms touch. Exhaling, fold forward, Uttanasana. Halfway up, lift up and lengthen. Inhale. As you exhale, planting palms flat, step back, plank pose. Lean forward, knees come down to the floor. Lean forward some more, keep the body in one straight line, chin and chest come down into a hover. Extend the legs back, roll the shoulders back, lift the heart up, come in Cobra pose. Exhaling, take yourself back into your downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths in, 3 deep breaths out. Keep sending the floor away, keep lifting your hips up, breathe into the back of the legs as you send the heels into the floor. Take another inhale, bend your knees, look forward, step your right foot forward, step your left foot forward to the top of the mat. Halfway up, lift up and lengthen. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to rise. Reach your arms up, palms touch. Hands to your heart center, Samasthiti. We'll do 2 more rounds to show you a couple of variations here. Take an inhale, reach the arms up, palms touch. Exhaling, fold forward, Uttanasana. Uttanasana is a great place to hold and be. If you're feeling like you want to breathe and work into your hamstrings a little bit more, you can add a little bit more of a forward fold situation here. You can grab the big toes, come into Pashi Uttanasana as well. Breathe. Take a deep inhale, deep exhale. Sorry, not Paschimottanasana, Padangustasana. It's like there's something wrong there. Take an inhale, lift the chest up, exhale, fold forward. Right, so from here, if you're working to begin to float back or jump back, what helps you here a lot is to take your hands forward, round the back, and lean into your hands. Push the floor away like you're coming into a press handstand. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and bend the knees. You jump back. Here's another one of my things that I don't quite care for. People tend to jump back into plank pose. Let's try that again. People tend to jump back into plank pose. That was more accurate. And when you do that, you might have seen me kind of bouncing my lower back. And every time I go from the forward fold into jumping back to plank and I don't bend my elbows to chaturanga, I tend to shock my lower back, which in the beginning might not feel like very much, but the more you do it and the more years you practice doing that, the more you start to going to develop lower back pain. All right, so 2 things that you can start to do here, well 3 actually. 1 is to step back to plank. Absolutely no shame in that either. The second one, if you're committed to jumping back, then lean into your hands and jump the whole body back. And then shift forward into plank pose. The third is to bend the elbows as you land, so you're landing in chaturanga. So you lean forward, you jump back, and bend the elbows so you're in chaturanga already. Roll the shoulders back, lift the chest up, inhale. Always adding an extra push-up wherever you want to. We'll talk about push-ups in the next round. Downward facing dog, 3 breaths here. Big breath in, big breath out. Another thing that you can start to do from here as well, especially if you're working on jumping forward, just adding a couple of playful elements to your practice, is to bend the knees, bring them together, and a couple of donkey kicks up and back into down dog. Jumping forward, looking in between the thumbs, and back to downward facing dog. One more time, up, and to the top of the mat. Halfway up, lift up and lengthen. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to rise, reach the arms up, palms touch. Hands to your heart center, Samasthiti. Last round, take an inhale, breathe, reach the arms up, palms touch. Exhale, circling the arms always helps me create more room in the shoulders. Halfway up, lift up and lengthen. As you exhale, plant your palms, step back to plank pose. Now, when I was starting to work on building strength, I used to add as many push-ups. Now, here's a These are relatively easy, believe it or not. Adding yoga push-ups, a lot. So, plank, You're going to lean forward and lower down, chaturanga, push back and up into plank. Lean forward and down, chaturanga, exhale back and up into plank. If you need to put the knees down, lean forward and down, chaturanga, body stays neutral, exhale back and up. 2 more. Inhale, lean forward and lower down, exhale back and up. Last one, lean forward, lower, exhale back and up. Plank pose. This time we'll push all the way back into downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Take an inhale, look forward, bend your knees. As you exhale, step, jump, float or fly. Halfway up, lift up and lengthen. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale to rise, reach the arms up, palms touch. Hands to your heart center, mountain pose, samastitihi. So I hope that stuff helped you out. Surya A by itself, doing 10 or 15 of them, adding your own variations of what you need, whether it's flexibility or strength, becomes a practice of its own. So enjoy practicing, enjoy building whatever it is that you need to build into your body, and keep getting on your mat and doing awesome things. Namaste.